Welcome back, everyone, and today we have the Giannis trade just completely flipped. Now you guys know there's definitely, bro. Now the last few days, bro, there's been so many news about Giannis possibly leaving the Bucks, them actually being open to it, with the offers and all. I mean, the Bucks front office and everything, and honestly, it's getting bro, there is a lot to keep up with when it comes to this, bro. It's like there's something new coming out every single day, bro. Like, I don't know. This video came out just an hour ago, so we're gonna go ahead and watch this together. Hope you guys are doing fine.
The Bucks are engaged with rival teams and making counteroffers to the aggressive proposals.
Okay, they're making counteroffers with other team. Okay.
See them getting anything that they want. I don't know who's desperate enough to give up. What, they're going to trade their whole team for him?
So remember when I told you guys in my last video that this Giannis situation was about to blow up, that the Bucks were finally listening to trade offers and that 3 teams were going all in? Well, I'm going to need you guys to go into your brains and delete everything I said, because over the past 72 hours, things have gone from we might see a trade to this deal can happen any minute now. And what's been reported so far is honestly crazier than anything I expected, even though so far it seems like my prediction about the front runner has been correct. Now, I'm not just pulling this news out of my ass. Check out what Sham said.
Bucks have been listening and engaged with interested teams, especially the teams that are aggressively pursuing.
Yeah, they've been engaged with other teams. Okay.
Here's the part that changes everything. Milwaukee isn't just sitting back and listening anymore. They're actively submitting counteroffers. That means that the Milwaukee Bucks are negotiating. They're haggling over specific players and picks. This isn't window shopping anymore. This is a team that is trying to seal the deal. And Sham's also dropped this on SportsCenter.
Every team that's in the Giannis sweepstakes is going to wait.
But here's the crazy part. He also said that Giannis is going to see A, B, and C options for every single team involved. This isn't plan A and then we'll figure out plan B. No, plan A, B, and C are getting Giannis on your team.
Giannis in the A, B, and C option.
That tells you exactly how serious things have gotten. And then there's what he called the tentacle of deals.
There's a tentacle of other teams that have deals potentially lined up with them.
Meaning that when you move a player of Giannis's caliber, it doesn't just affect 2 teams. There are 3rd teams and 4th teams that have contingency deals lined up, waiting for the Giannis domino to fall before they make their own moves. The entire NBA trade deadline is revolving around one man. So in this video, I'm going to break down every single thing that's changed since my last video. We're talking about specific trade packages that have leaked. We're talking about the team that is now considered the clear frontrunner. And if you want to take a quick guess as to which team that is, I'll give you a hint. It's the team that I said is the most likely to swing a trade in my previous video. I'll let you comment in the comment section down below to see.
And then watch, is he talking about the Heat?
The craziest part is one of the teams I talked about last time have basically pulled out of the running. So let's get to it. PrizePicks is back with their free square promo for the Super Bowl, and I have the
you guys go ahead and check that out.
Take advantage of this. Just check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The last time I made a video on this, the story was simple. Giannis wants out. The Bucks are listening, and 3 teams, the Warriors, the Heat, and the Knicks, were circling. But in the days since that video dropped, we've gotten a flood of new information that has completely reshuffled the deck. First, let's talk about what Shams reported over the weekend. On Saturday night, he went on record saying this.
I'm told in the Bucks, as of this weekend, they are engaged with rival teams and making counteroffers to the aggressive proposals.
Now take a moment to really think about what that means. If you're the Bucks and you get an offer that you think is trash, you don't counteroffer. You just say, nah, we're good. The fact that Milwaukee is going back and forth with these teams tells you they see value in what's being offered. They're trying to squeeze out the best possible return. So the Bucks no longer have that we're gonna keep Giannis no matter what type of energy going for them. And then came the framework deals. According to Evan Siddery, we now know the general structure of what each team is offering. And there's a brand new contender entering the mix. Golden State's package is built around draft picks. Minnesota's package is built around players. And Miami is a combination of both. 3 completely different approaches. 3 completely different visions for Milwaukee's future. And the Bucks are weighing all of them. But here's what caught my attention. Mark Stein and Jake Fisher reported something back on January 28th that I think is the most important part of this entire saga. Sources inside Milwaukee described what they called a grudging realization over the course of this season that pathways to providing Antetokounmpo with the championship contention he craves just aren't there. You don't say. It's not like I've been saying this for the past 6 months. The Milwaukee Bucks are stuck paying Damian Lillard $22 million a year over the next 5 years. That's already a handicap. But on top of that, their second best player is Miles Turner. They don't have any depth at all whatsoever. Hell, their starting five is weak as it is. They have no more draft picks to trade to build a contender around Giannis. I give them credit for trying everything they possibly can to do so, but the writing is on the wall at this point, and if you hold on to Giannis and let him walk away for free, then you can set back your franchise for a decade. They also said that Giannis's exit, painful as it might be, might finally be best for both sides. It's kind of crazy that it took him this long to realize this, but the people inside the Bucks organization are admitting out loud that the Giannis era is over. They're not fighting it anymore. They're just trying to get the best return possible. If you take a look at their record, this makes a lot of sense. The Bucks are sitting at 18-29. They're 12th in the Eastern Conference. They started the year 5-2, and then it completely fell apart. Giannis has been dealing with calf injuries all season long. He's only played about 30 games, and even when he was out there averaging 28 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists on 64.5% shooting, which is historically elite, the team around him just simply isn't good enough. The roster is the 5th oldest in the NBA. Their draft cupboard is almost empty from past trades, and now Giannis is hurt again and won't be back for weeks. So let's talk about the team that has emerged as the clear frontrunner in this whole thing. And it's time to see if you guys got your predictions right. The frontrunner to acquire Giannis is the Golden State Warriors, because everything that's come out in the last few days points to Golden State being in the driver's seat, and I'm going to explain exactly why. Bobby Marks put out an incredible breakdown where he ranked the trade difficulty for every serious suitor, and the Warriors, he gave them a 2 out of 10 rating.
Well, it's actually probably the cleanest trade out there, where it's only 2 teams with Golden State and Milwaukee. These are 4 unprotected first-round picks when possibly Steph Curry is no longer on the roster.
For reference, the Knicks got an 8 out of 10, the Timberwolves got an 8 out of 10, the Heat got a 7 out of 10. Golden State has by far the cleanest and simplest path to making this trade happen. And in Marks' own words, the Warriors are essentially telling Milwaukee to pick the terms of the deal without including Steph Curry. You should think about that for a second. The Warriors are straight up going up to the Bucks and saying, hey, you guys can have anyone on this team except for Steph. You want picks? You got him. You want our young guys? Take them. You want both? Fine. Just tell us what it's going to take. And the numbers back this up. I said in my last video that the Warriors have the most attractive offer, and back then I was assuming that they were just going to offer 4 first-round picks, Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski. The Warriors could include unprotected selections in 2026, 2028, and 2032, plus a 2030 pick if it lands in the top 20. They can also throw in up to 3 pick swaps on top of that. That is an insane amount of draft capital, and here's the thing that people need to understand about those picks. They are the most valuable picks out of any team trying to pursue Giannis. Steph is 37 years old. Draymond is 35 years old. Those post-Curry, post-Draymond Warrior picks in 2030 and 2032, those are probably going to be lottery picks. Hell, scratch the lottery, those could be top 5 picks. For a franchise like Milwaukee that's about to enter rebuild mode, that's huge. According to Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, the Bucks are fascinated by the idea of acquiring every single one of Golden State's future first-round picks and some young players. That tells me that Milwaukee sees the Warriors package as the foundation for their entire rebuild. So, what would this deal actually look like on paper? Well, Bobby Marks went on ESPN and literally pulled up the NBA trade machine to show exactly how the salaries could match. And the core of this deal is built around one piece: Jimmy Butler's contract. Now, I know what you're thinking. Butler tore his ACL earlier this season. He's done for the year. So why would the Bucks want him? Well, they don't really want Jimmy the player. They want Jimmy Butler the $54.1 million expiring contract. Because here's how the salary math works. Giannis makes about $54 million this year. To match that in a trade, the Warriors need to send out roughly the same amount of salary. Butler's deal does most of the heavy lifting by itself. You add in Jonathan Kuminga's deal and Brandon Podziemski, and the numbers work. But Bobby Marks also laid out an alternative path. He went on 95.7 the game and said if you don't want to put Butler in the deal, then you're basically trading Draymond, Kuminga, and I guess Podziemski for Giannis. Either way, the path runs through either Butler's contract or Green's $35.9 million deal. One of those two has to go to Milwaukee for the salaries to match. And this is where it gets absolutely wild, because according to Brett Siegel...
Yeah, I just heard, the Warriors are actually now open to, they're actually now open to trade Draymond, so...
actually be on board with being traded in a Giannis deal. The report says Draymond would be willing to get moved to Milwaukee and then re-sign with the Warriors as a free agent this summer. Could you think about that for a second? Draymond Green, one of the most iconic Warriors of all time, would voluntarily leave, help his team get Giannis, and then come back. That's how badly Golden State wants this. That's how many people inside that organization believe a Steph-Giannis pairing is their last shot at another ring. And if the Warriors win a championship, Draymond Green would still get a ring. So picture this lineup: Steph Curry and Giannis in the pick and roll. Giannis rolling to the rim while the greatest shooter in NBA history pulls up from 30 feet. Defenses would need to sell out to stop the three, which means Giannis gets a free lane to the basket. Or they collapse on Giannis and Steph is standing there wide open. There's no scheme in the world that stops that. And if Draymond comes back in the summer, you're looking at a closing lineup of Curry, Draymond, and Giannis. That's a championship caliber trio right now. The Warriors are sitting at 27-23, 8th in the Western Conference. They're a decent team with no real ceiling. Adding Giannis doesn't just raise their ceiling, it blows the roof completely off. So here's where this gets interesting.
It'd be really interesting,
in my last video, I talked about 3 teams: the Warriors, the Heat, and the Knicks. But since then, a 4th team has come completely out of left field and inserted themselves right in the middle of this race. And it's not who you would expect. I'm talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I know what you guys might be thinking. Mike, Minnesota for Giannis? How on earth does that even work? And honestly, a week ago, I would have said the exact same thing. But according to multiple insiders, including Mark Stein, the prospect of teaming up with Anthony Edwards holds strong appeal for Giannis. Stein reported that this has led to some notable back-channel discussions in recent months that lend true legitimacy to Minnesota's status as a potential landing spot. And Shams himself listed Minnesota right alongside the Warriors, Heat, and Knicks as one of the 4 serious suitors.
I would look at Minnesota, Golden State in the West, New York, and Miami. Those are 4 of the strong suitors for Giannis.
And Giannis wanting to play with Ant makes total basketball sense. Anthony Edwards is averaging 29.4 points per game this season. The Wolves are 31-19, sitting 5th in the West, and they've won 4 straight. Edwards is 23 years old and entering the prime of his prime. If you're Giannis and you're thinking about the next 5 years of your career, do you want to pair up with a 37-year-old Steph Curry who might have 2 great years left, or a 23-year-old Ant who has a decade of elite basketball ahead of him? That's a legitimate question, and a Giannis
but the thing is that, bro,
would instantly become arguably the best 1-2 punch in the entire NBA. But here's the problem. The Timberwolves' path to Giannis is a logistical nightmare. Bobby Marks rated their difficulty at 8 out of 10. Minnesota can't trade a single first-round pick because of previous deals. They only got 1 unprotected swap to offer.
Well, the thing is that Giannis is like 31, and now, so he's getting a little more injury prone. So the thing is that, yeah, I think it'd be really just a better fit for him to go to like an older team like the Warriors, instead of a younger one like the Timberwolves, but whatever.
Package has to be built entirely around players, and that means gutting their roster. According to Evan Siddery, the Timberwolves are gauging the trade value of Julius Randle and Naz Reid specifically for a Giannis blockbuster. Randle is in the first year of a 3-year, $100 million contract, averaging 22.3 points, 6.9 rebounds, and 5.4 assists. Naz Reid signed a 5-year, $125 million contract last offseason and is putting up 14.7 points and 6.4 rebounds while shooting nearly 40% from 3. And then you've got Jaden McDaniels, who Siddery reports has drawn interest from multiple teams. If the Wolves decide to include him, McDaniels is only 25. He's one of the best defensive wings in the entire league, and he's averaging 14.9 points while shooting 44.5% from deep this season. So the Wolves would need to likely send out some combination of Randle, Reid, and McDaniels just to match Giannis' salary and give Milwaukee actual value. That's a lot of production walking out of the door. door. And because Minnesota doesn't have draft picks, they'd basically be asking the Bucks to accept current players instead of future assets. That's a much harder sell for a team that's about to
Exactly.
rebuild.
So I don't think honestly the trade with them is as as beneficial as the one with the Warriors.
And that's exactly why Windy reported that the Timberwolves are actively looking for a third or even a fourth team to help facilitate a deal.
They're out there recruiting third and fourth teams to try to improve their offer to see if they can get Giannis.
Minnesota can't do this by themselves. They would need another franchise to absorb contracts, redirect players, and add draft capital to sweeten the pot for Milwaukee. Windhorst called Minnesota the most aggressive team in the marketplace heading into the deadline. Tim Connolly, their president of basketball operations, is calling everybody. This is the same guy who pulled off the Rudy Gobert trade and the Karl Anthony Towns trade. He's not afraid to swing for the fences, but this time he might need to build a bridge out of 3 or 4 different teams just to make it work. So a lot has gone down since I started making this
I'm not
video.
feeling this.
And as I'm editing this video, we got a bunch of crazy news. Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to the Jazz. We have a separate video coming out on that next in about 2 hours. And the Boston Celtics made a huge trade with the Chicago Bulls, trading Anthony Simons for Vucevic. We're going to get that to you later. But what's more relevant to this video is Tim Connolly officially accomplished his mission. According to Shams, Chicago, Minnesota, and Detroit have agreed to a multi-team deal that sends Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley Jr. to the Bulls and Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric to the Pistons. Detroit also gets a 2026 first-round pick swap from Minnesota. So the Timberwolves get absolutely nothing back in this deal. They get no players, no picks, nothing. So why would a team fighting for playoff positioning voluntarily make themselves thinner? I think the better question is, why on earth do the Chicago Bulls want so many guards on their roster? Well, that's a different conversation for a different day. We gotta focus on the Timberwolves here, guys. This was never about getting something back. This was about clearing the runway. Mike Conley's $10.7 million salary is now off of the books. And according to Bobby Marks, Minnesota's luxury tax bill just plummeted from $24 million all the way down to $3.8 million. They're now officially under the first apron. That is huge. That's the kind of financial flexibility you need when you're trying to construct a 5-team mega deal for a generational superstar. And the worst case scenario is said here by Brian Windhorst.
Minnesota, this is a hedge, okay? On one hand, they save a bunch of money, okay? Let's not ignore that they paid on this deal to save a bunch of money. And if it helps them get Giannis, great. But if it doesn't help them get Giannis, they saved a bunch of money, which is also something that's a factor there.
But what about the Kobe White of it all? That's intriguing.
Well, what about the Miami Heat? Well, we finally have details about what their potential deal for Giannis would look like. And honestly, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. According to reporting from the Miami Herald, the Heat's offer for Giannis includes Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Terry Rozier, possibly another young player, 2 first-round picks in 2030 and 2032, and potentially first-round pick swaps in 2026, 2029, and 2031.
I'm not feeling this.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a lot, but when you stack it up against what Golden State can offer, it's just not on the same level. And Bobby Marks said it straight up. He wrote that considering what other teams have to offer, Miami's trade only gets done if Giannis's camp signals the Heat as his preferred destination. That's a pretty big if. And here's the other problem that Marks flagged. Unless the Bucks can flip Tyler Hero into multiple additional first rounders in a separate deal, it's hard to see Milwaukee wanting to then turn around and extend Hero to a big contract. They'd essentially be taking on a player they might not even want long term, and that's not how you want to start a rebuild. Don't get me wrong, Pat Riley is Pat Riley. The man has pulled off miracles before. I mean, the big 3 with LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, how he got Jimmy Butler in 2019. I mean, the Heat culture is real and it matters to free agents. And pairing Giannis with Bam Adebayo would give Miami one of the most dominant front courts in the league. But in terms of pure trade assets, the Heat simply can't match what the Warriors are putting on the table.
They can't.
2 first rounders and some pick swaps versus potentially 4 or 5 first rounders and young talent from Golden State. That's not even close. Miami's best chance might be to wait until the offseason and hope that Giannis specifically forces his way there. Because in a straight bidding war, the Warriors are winning. So do you remember how in my last video I said that the Knicks were one of the main contenders? It was Giannis' preferred destination. Well, you can forget about it, because Brian Windhorst said this on Get Up.
They are not showing that aggression to get Giannis right now, and I think that's because they like this team.
And honestly, I get it. The Knicks did have a losing streak, But Jalen Brunson is playing like a top 10 player. They made massive moves from Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. They believe in this core, and to get Giannis, they'd have to blow most of that up. Remember, they don't have the draft picks.
Exactly.
You don't want 5 first rounders for Bridges. So
you don't want to blow too much up. You know, just having to bring Giannis in. So that's why Golden State Warriors is really the front runner when it comes to all this. You know, they're not going to have to tear down much, honestly, and they're going to get a lot in return, low-key. So
trade would require sending out a star, and Bobby Marks rated their deal difficulty at 8 out of 10.
So yeah,
there's an interesting subplot here. The Athletic reported that Cat has had some strong feelings ever since his name surfaced in Giannis Antetokounmpo trade talks during the offseason. So even the idea of pursuing Giannis has created tension in the locker room. New York decided it wasn't worth it. They're betting on themselves, and the Knicks are out of the Giannis race, which, by the way, is exactly what Windy implied when he said last summer they didn't make an aggressive offer, and they're showing that same lack of aggression now. Now, does that mean that New York could come back into the picture in the offseason if Giannis is still available?
They can.
Maybe, but right now at this deadline, the Knicks are no longer participants. So when is this trade actually going down? Because I know you guys are so sick and tired of seeing me Photoshop Giannis into different
bro, there's so many of them, bro.
The trade deadline is this Thursday, February 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern.
In 2 days.
What Sham said,
every team that's in the Giannis sweepstakes is going to wait
in 2 days.
It goes to Wednesday, Thursday. They're going to wait for that point.
That's how these things always work. Everybody plays chicken until the last minute, and then the deals come flying in. Now, could this still get pushed into the offseason? Absolutely. Remember, Giannis is hurt. He's not playing for weeks, and the Bucks have said that they're not in a rush if they don't get the return that they want. But I genuinely believe that the momentum has shifted. The counteroffers, the grudging realization inside the building, the fact that Milwaukee is 18-29 with the 5th oldest roster in the league and almost have no draft capital of their own, everything is pointing toward the Bucks pulling the trigger sooner rather than later. Because waiting until summer is a gamble too. What if Giannis's calf gets worse? What if teams lower their offers?
Yeah, because he is getting older.
What if the best deal on the table right now is better than anything that comes in June? So my prediction is the same as my prediction in my last video on this topic. I think Giannis ends up with the Golden State Warriors. The math is too clean.
Just like I thought.
Too overwhelming. The Bucks are fascinated by those future draft picks. Draymond is even willing to facilitate the deal. And the chance to pair Giannis with Steph for one last championship run is the kind of story that the NBA wouldn't want to pass up.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
Anyways, what do you think? Do you think we'll see Giannis in a Warriors jersey, by trade deadline, or by the off season? What do you guys think? Obviously, this is clear. These guys are the front runners. This is definitely if Giannis decides to leave the Bucks, this is the best deal. I don't see why he would go anywhere else, but whatever. You guys let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.